You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Valerie Kessie. As the only named federal proposal manager at Michael Baker International, Valerie leads the proposal team through complex federal and state proposal pursuits, as well as facilitating capture planning and strategy meetings on company must-win architecture, engineering, construction efforts worth millions of dollars. Valerie has diverse marketing and communications experience in developing, implementing, and managing large-scale, complex, and multi-million-dollar submittals for federal, state and local, education, aviation, commercial, and defense markets. Valerie developed Cover Letter Executive Summary Manual within the Proposal Development PD group at Michael Baker. The manual is shared to new hires during their onboarding training, as well as to current hires to be used as a refresher in developing strategic narrative content. Additionally, Valerie provides 6 to 8 weeks mentoring and training to new hires and refresher training to PD staff. Valerie is winner of APMP 40 Under 40 2020 award and earned her certification at the foundation level and certification at the practitioner level in 2018 and 2019 respectively, and the Shipley Business Development certification, which she received in 2018. Valerie also hopes to pursue her professional certification in 2021 and also serves on the board of her local APMP chapter. Valerie has a Bachelor of Arts degree from Lawrence University and an Executive MBA from Sullivan University. Starting in 2020, Valerie began a Master of Science degree in project management to enhance her project management and leadership abilities on corporate and company-wide must-win pursuits at Michael Baker. Welcome, Valerie, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
So Valerie, we love to start at the beginning. So we're curious, where were you born? Where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
Sure. So I was born in a small mining town called Obuasi. It's located in Ghana, West Africa, within the Ashanti region. So for the last 10 or so years, I've been living in the US, going to school and working as well. I went to school, I graduated from college from Lawrence University. Mm-hmm. It's located in a small town called Appleton. Very cold weather, but beautiful people, beautiful location. I studied environmental policy and French. I double majored in those two categories. And then when I graduated in 2014, I got the opportunity to work as a business development specialist in New York. So that's when, my journey went from the Midwest to the East Coast. And since then, I've been doing, similar jobs pertaining to proposal development or business development.
Oh, wow. So I understand that there is something called the Andrew Mellon Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So during my last year of college, seniors were given the opportunity to apply for the Andrew Mellon Foundation grant. And this would help students to, take on a responsibility, at least try to help communities or anything that they were interested in with some sort of grant funding. So since I was from Ghana and I was very passionate about the environment at that time, or, still passionate about the environment, I decided to take on the idea of recycling because that's not so common in Ghana. So, I applied for the grant. I stated my cause. I had, I think, 2 to 3 interviews across the board just to talk to them about, why recycling is so important and how, electric waste in Ghana was so prominent. So shortly after the interviews, I got alerted that I actually won one of the grants. So this afforded me travel to Ghana, and I was there for about a month where I interviewed different stakeholders. I mean, I wasn't so sure that there was actually an EPA in Ghana as well, but then there is a function in Ghana. So I interviewed a couple people on their board just to talk about electric waste. And through that whole month-long process, it was so interesting to find out how, Ghana was reshaping the whole recycling viewpoint. It's something that I didn't know when I was living in Ghana. So I'm excited to see, what's, is being held for Ghana and what's hopefully going to happen in the future for Ghana.
Oh, wow. That is very exciting. And what a great initiative.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I wasn't so sure I would get information out of. But then my dad has so many connections. So I was so blessed to be able to, ride in his car and for him to tell him, okay, let's go see this person, let's go see that other person. So I was really, really glad that I had at least the local resources to help guide me with my research.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned a very kind of unique study that you did in Appleton. Was your first job related to your field of study, or what was your first job out of university?
It was. So my first job, I worked as a business development specialist at a renewable energy finance company. So even before I knew that I wanted to do proposals, because honestly, I didn't even know proposals was a field,
Right.
that, you could, do that day and night. So I worked as a business development specialist because I was more drawn to renewable energy resources across different continents. So I studied stuff like, solar energy, wind power energy, and for this company that I worked with, our clients were, the World Bank, IFC, African Development Bank, and the European Development Bank as well. So I did proposals in that aspect, but then I went there thinking that, I was going to open my focus on environmental policy to get more knowledge on that. So I pretty much fell into this realm of proposal development by chance. But then once I started to learn more about the processes, the organizational tools, I was just blown away by the sort of resources that could go into managing a proposal. So I would say maybe my focus on proposals became more 70%, and then my focus on renewable energy resources became 30%. So that's how I basically ended up doing proposals. It was really interesting because during college, I knew that I was drawn to internships or opportunities that were more communications based. Even though I was, majoring in environmental policy, all the jobs that I applied for, such as being a PR communications intern at the EPA, or I don't know, I did an internship in France when I studied abroad in France, and I taught students, English for like 3-4 months. So I knew that I didn't want to necessarily sit behind a desk and just conduct research. I knew that I wanted to be able to interact with people and talk to people on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting how we fall into it, and just some people with our personalities, we just get hooked.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about your cover letter executive summary manual?
Yes. So I would say maybe in 2018, that's already 2 years. Oh my goodness. So in 2018, my mentor, she, amazing, Maria Cruikshank, we're just going to give her a quick shout out. I had some downtime and she asked me if I could, put together a 2 to 3 page summary on how to build a strategic cover letter. Before coming to Michael Baker, my cover letters were pretty bland, and I'll be honest, and I'll admit that right straight out of the barn. But through the Michael Baker training that's heavily focused on Shipley, I started to realize that there's a storyline to developing cover letters. And this is your first opportunity to more or less list down why you're best positioned to win the contracts in question. So I was tasked to put together 2 to 3 pages. I did a lot of research within our organization and also outside our organization to find, winning cover letters. And I realized that those cover letters were those that's told a story from start to finish. It summarized your win themes. It talked about your positioning within an industry and how you could exceed clients' expectations. So I put together this summary. I shared it with my mentor, and I found it so useful. And I did a trial run on one of the new hires I was training, and she found it so helpful as well because she was new to the industry and had never written a cover letter. So from there on, I shared the manual, or like the 2 to 3 summary with examples with my supervisor, and she shared it with her direct reports. It's being rolled into our manual, so I'm still working with the lead mentor on how to develop it into like our official manual. But right now, it's happening. It's working behind the scenes. It's exciting because I like to create tools that help my new hires or the new hires within our departments. And if this is a resource that can help them, adapt quickly and be able to write convincing and powerful cover letters, then I'm all for it.
Oh, absolutely. So on a related note, you have this kind of 6 to 8 weeks mentoring and training program at Michael Baker. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. So Michael Baker, at least for the proposal development group, it's a mixture of proposal coordinators and specialists. So as part of our new hire process, we onboard a new hire, at least for the first 2 weeks. They go through a standard training whereby we teach them Michael Baker best practices, and then go on to teach them, our database and how things are organized and how they're able to, implement a winning proposal. So for the first 4 to 8 weeks, I, basically introduce them to Michael Baker. I teach them our best practice methods. I also go on to develop a proposal with them shadowing, and then we switch it on where they lead a proposal and then I shadow them so that they can get the experience of leading a proposal with somebody close by to help them. Since I would say February of last year, I've mentored about maybe six individuals.
Wow.
Across different offices pertaining to Michael Baker, and it's been so exciting because each of them have different personalities, they have different backgrounds, and they're not the only ones learning something new. I'm also, learning new things. Like there was one new hire, for example, who showed me this new organizational tool. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am stealing this. I am using it because it's so, functional. So even though the new hire program lasts for about 6 to 8 weeks, in some way or in some fashion, I still serve as their mentor even after the process and I think it's a learning process within this industry, and I also learn from them as well. My mentor, when I joined Michael Baker, is still my mentor to date. I learned so much from her. And I'm always, showing her things like, does this look okay? What do you think about this Excel spreadsheet? Does this sound okay? So I love the network that we've built at Michael Baker, the whole mentoring mentee program. So before I spoke too much.
It sounds amazing. So before we dig deeper into, a little bit more of APMP in your career, can you tell us 3 things that not many people know about you?
So 2 things that people don't know about, 3 things. So I guess you guys know this because you read my profile, but I love cooking. I love putting a twist on different recipes. And it doesn't matter, where the recipe originates from, but then I like to add spicy things to my food. And since I would say March, I've bought 2 different cookbooks. I have bookmarks and sticky notes all over the pages to see what I can swap out and what I can try. I'm actually thinking of launching an Instagram page dedicated to my cooking exploration. So hopefully me saying this out loud will keep me honest, and I can actually do it by the end of summer. I think the second thing is the fact that I'm a DC Comics fan. I don't think a lot of people know that about me at all. But then growing up, me and my brother just loved, the Flash, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. We just love DC Comics. This is not to say that I don't love the Avengers. I love them as well, but then I'm definitely like a DC fan through and through. The third thing is I used to play the piano or the organ religiously from the 3rd grade up until the 12th grade. I used to have an affiliation with the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music, also known as ABRSM, and it's a UK-based affiliation that more or less provides music examinations to centers across the world. So each year, I think it was either October or November of each year, there would be a group of students that would go to a local either university in Ghana, and would just be vetted by this lady or this man from the UK that would vet us on, a practice song, a new sheet of music, and then also chords. So I did that for about 8, 9 years of my life. I don't practice the organ anymore, which is so sad. My dad would be so disappointed. But then I did that for about 8 to 9 years of my life.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Those are definitely some unique things. Can you still play the piano at all?
I can. So the thing is, I don't think I can. I'm not as comfortable playing new sheets of music. especially if I haven't practiced ahead of time. But then I have a couple songs, that I've just, recorded in my mind and I can play it freely. But then for new music, it's a little bit of a struggle for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about APMP. When did you become a member of APMP?
So I joined, the great thing about Michael Baker is that we have a corporate license with APMP and Shipley. So when I joined Michael Baker about 4 years ago, I was given, the opportunity to take some APMP courses, some classes, and all of that jazz. So before I started taking the exams, and I would have downtime, my manager would shared with me the APMP manual. So I would just, read it when I had time, or I would highlight a couple things that were interesting to me. And when I got the opportunity to work on a big pursuit and I kind of used the things that I learned from APMP, that's when I was sold. That's when I started to take it more seriously and decided to go for my foundation certificate and then finally my practitioner certificate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. And have you had the chance to go to any of the conferences or events?
I have. So the breakfast is one of my favorite events. I'm with the NCA chapter, like the Washington chapter. I've gone to a lot of the breakfast events and also, the yearly conferences in Tyson's Corner. Actually, I think I've met you before in person.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
I remember seeing your name and I was like, this name looks so familiar. And I couldn't figure it out till like I was going through my notes, because every proposal person has these notes they don't throw away. And
Right.
I remember like one of the presentations you presented. I think it was proposal writing from.
Yep, exactly.
So I've been, attending those events with my colleagues in Alexandria. So yeah, I've been attending those events since 2017, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing. And do you remember the first time you attended one and kind of how you felt being around so many different proposal people?
Oh dear. If I have to be honest, I think I was overwhelmed. Honestly, I didn't know so many different industries partook in, in APMP. I was sort of narrow-minded in the sense that I thought it was just for architectural engineering industries and maybe industries. I didn't know that, IT firms, healthcare firms would also, be in this loop. So I was overwhelmed, but then I was so excited because I loved to meet different people. And on my table, I remember there's one person from IT security, there's a federal person from a different firm, and just knowing that we could come together on, a common known basis, for me, that was, I was blown away.
Oh, yeah. I think so many people kind of share that feeling when they just realize how big the industry is and how many people that we can kind of relate to and resonate with.
Yeah.
So you received the APMP 40 Under 40 award this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what that award means and how you feel about that?
So for me, that award, it definitely made me reflect on more or less my journey into the proposal industry. When I was putting together my application, so first of all, my supervisor encouraged me to apply in February. And as one of my, she's also one of my mentors at Michael Baker, I truly do trust her judgment. And at that point, I wasn't so sure if, I would actually be selected. Yeah. Because who am I? So through the application process where I had to, put down my resume and just, basically write down why I think I deserve to be a 40 Under 40 recipient, it truly challenged me to see things from a different perspective. And to be honest, and not to, sound weird or anything, but then I was super proud of my accomplishments and knowing that I came from a field that's not so natural to go into proposal management. So it was definitely, it's still surreal. I am super grateful. I'm truly honored that I was one of the selected individuals. And I'm just excited about, what the future brings based on this selection. I mean, I know I've gotten a lot of people reach out to me to say congratulations, people that are not within my network. So I'm just excited about building upon that foundation for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I noticed that you are slotted to present at the virtual experience.
So yeah, so I'm being interviewed by Rick Harris. Sometime this week. Yeah, I'm so excited. because I've never seen Rick Harris in person. Actually, that's not so true. I sat behind him in one of the conferences last year. But then I think, he's a celebrity in the APMP world. So I'm really looking forward to the interview. And we're going to, talk about, my experiences and, what APMP means to me.
Oh, that'll be an exciting interview for sure. We'll have to definitely check that out. Can you tell us about any of the other achievements that you have so far? Many that I'm sure you're very proud of.
So growing up in Ghana, there was always this stigma of always having a higher education or going to school. Going to school. And my dad is someone that always drilled it into us. Growing up, every time I'd want to have a more or less adult-like conversation with my dad, he would ask me, did I research on it? Did I find out what I really wanted to ask him? Instead of coming to him directly with the questions. So for me, I knew that higher education was something that I always wanted to pursue. I graduated with my executive MBA in 2018, sorry. And that for me was a big achievement because I was nervous about being able to go to school and also work full time. I'm blessed to know that, everything that I learned in school was directly applicable to my day-to-day job. So it wasn't that hard to, mesh together. But one of my achievements was I was able to, concentrate and fully graduate with honors actually in 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was definitely something that I'm very proud of. It wasn't easy in the beginning for sure, being able to manage my time, but I think in the end it helped me to better, be more resourceful with my time and plan ahead of time, which goes into proposal management as well. So I guess it worked on both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so impressive, and you should definitely be proud of those achievements for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that's an amazing transition over to our kind of more fun, lighthearted, rapid fire questions round with Bhaskar.
Yes, Valerie. Valerie, I think let's talk about from Ghana, Valerie. So you are fluent in English, French, and Twi, is it?
Yes, Twi.
Is that the Ghanaian language?
So pertaining to my tribe, yes. There are so many, dialects that, are from Ghana, but then Twi is something that I'm most familiar with.
Oh, nice. And French, you picked up French because it was in the university, or was it also another language that's spoken in Ghana? So
Ghana is surrounded by French-speaking countries. And by default, French is one of the languages that you learn, one of the foreign languages that you learn in Ghana. So in high school, I kind of struggled with French, but then I got this opportunity to study abroad in France for 3 to 4 months. And since then, I loved French so much that I went on to, major in it and try to be more fluent in the language.
Oh, that's brilliant. And Royal School of Music, piano, my God. I mean, that sounds pretty intense. So
it was an intense time. I'm just disappointed that I wasn't able to continue with it. I mean, some of my friends, one of my best friends, she's actually still, participating with the group. And I wish I stuck to it, but then, such is life.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it is what it is. So yes, so I appreciate that you are a DC Comics fan. So if you were a superhero yourself, what powers would you like to have?
Oh my goodness, what a question. I wish I could change anything into whatever I wanted. In terms of if I saw, let's say there was a cup, there was an empty cup, maybe I could change it to a cup with a smoothie inside. You know what I mean? Develop things out of plain existence. Because I love cooking so much, I wish I'd be able to imitate pictures of food and just put it on in front of me. Maybe that's my superpower. But also be able to help the needy and the poor, those who can't readily access food.
And what would be the name of the superhero or heroine?
Oh my goodness. Maybe Wonder Ghana. I don't know. Not that far. Maybe Wonder Ghana. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds cool. I think. So which of your friends would you like to have as your sidekick, and what do you think will be their respective powers?
So as a sidekick. So I don't know if, so my other friend is a Marvel Comics fan, so I definitely wouldn't loop her in. But my brother is a DC Comics fan. And I think as a sidekick, he'd be able, like he is very into IT. I think he'd be the one to be able to plan things and to find or to track people down. And he'd have like, the whole room or the whole office with all this technology and everything wired to each other. So maybe he'd be my sidekick after I vet him, of course.
And do you think he will have a name for himself?
Oh dear. Would he have a name? He probably will. He probably would, but then I can't think of any right now. Something with technology. I don't know.
Yes. Hopefully it won't have the name Ghana with it, or it will be like...
Yes, that will give us away, right?
So let's go back to food. So if you could eat only 3 foods for the rest of your life, what food would you choose?
Oh, wow. Plantains. I love plantains. I could use plantains in anything that I eat. Rice is a big staple in Ghana, and it's also a big staple in my diet. So rice is definitely the second thing. And the third thing is tomatoes. I love, love, love tomatoes. Cooked tomatoes, uncooked tomatoes. Those 3 things, I think I could whip up a lot of things with those 3 staple elements. So yeah, for sure, those 3 things.
Nice. And do you remember, or is there any interesting kitchen fail that you had when you were experimenting with food?
Oh dear, kitchen fail. Yes. So there is this recipe that's local to Ghana. It's called bufruits. But then it's like a donut, more or less. The texture is like a donut, but then you have to deep fry it. The interesting thing about the dough is there's a fine line between overhandling the dough and then which releases the gluten, or I guess activates the gluten. And once that happens, it becomes so thick. So my first time, or at least my absolute fail for developing bufruits or donuts, was I overhandled the dough, and it just became so thick that when I fried it, it was literally like a rock. Like it was literally so hard. I was so disappointed because the taste was so good, but it was just so hard to eat. So that was my absolute fail, because before then I had told my mom that I'm going to make bufruits. I was so excited. She tried to tell me, how to go about it, but I was like, no, I got it. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. So in hindsight, listen to your parents. But yeah, that was my absolute fail for sure.
So from that fail, now you should be an expert, or you are still in the learning journey?
I am still in the learning journey. I think it's an acquired skill, to be honest. Handling that dough, I've only done bufruits one other time where it was semi-successful. It just gets it gets very interesting to play with the dough, to be honest. And that's how people end up mishandling it. So I think the second time I did it, it was better, but then it wasn't perfect. So I'm still working towards it for sure.
And which food or which dish that came out better than you expected?
Which dish came out better than expected? I made pizza for the first time a month ago, and it was very, very good. I had never tried it before then. I was amazed that I was able to follow the recipe to a T. And I think maybe it's because I didn't add any twists of my own this time. So it came out perfectly. One of the cookbooks, I purchased 2 cookbooks since March. And one of them had this Italian sausage pizza recipe, and it was amazing. So I was really surprised that it came out really good.
Got you. Why the twist is important for you in cooking?
I don't know, So actually my boyfriend told me that he one time told me that why is it that every time I'm cooking, I like to add something new to it? Why don't I just stick to what's been written and what's been vetted? I just don't want to be boring. I like to be able to experiment with things because most of the time my experimentations have ended up being amazing in the sense that it has more flavor. It looks more colorful. I just don't like to stick to I guess the norm or traditional aspects of things. So maybe that's why I end up adding twists. I don't know.
It's true. Especially it's the same complaint I have at home as well. My wife being Japanese, she makes it just the food just as the salt or anything that just it sticks. Whatever the meat has or the vegetable has, that's it. I
Yeah.
then go and add spices to it, chili to it, deep fry it, and mess up the whole thing because that's so.
I use a lot of spices, so I definitely understand what you mean.
So, so that's great. So, what are your favorite cooking channels in YouTube?
Cooking channels on YouTube. So I recently started following this lady called Chloe Ting. And even though she's an exercise fanatic, she also does a lot of cooking, a lot of quick cooking meals. I don't follow a lot of YouTubers for their cooking. I buy more of the cookbooks. But then I also have this other lady that I follow. She's called Immaculate Bites. And I was able to learn how to make like a lot of the stuff from Ghana that you'd usually, do on a stovetop in the oven. So she's been one of my inspirations for sure. And with that being said, I've also bought like 2 different cookbooks. Like one is called Half Baked Harvest. I will definitely, give her the plug and give her that shout out. And then there's another one called Zoe's Ghana Kitchen. Both of them, really good. So I'll definitely recommend those if you're looking for any, switch up.
Definitely. So I normally watch programs where people review the restaurants and people eat the food, because when somebody eats the food that I wanted to eat, it gives me the false thing that I'm eating it myself.
Oh wow! Actually, a funny story. So I'm probably putting my brother on blast, but when we were young, apparently my mom loved to watch a lot of food channels or food cooking channels, and my brother would get so upset because when they're about to serve the food, my brother would bring a plate and stand in front of the TV expecting to be served too, and then when obviously it wouldn't happen, he would start crying. So, oh dear. He's probably not going to be too happy I said that, but such is life.
Yes. Okay. That's nice. So you do enjoy working out and competing on challenges. So what's the courageous thing that you have ever done?
Courageous thing I have ever done. Wow. That is a good question. Courageous thing I've ever done. I would definitely say when it comes to proposal development, at least inherently, I'm a very not shy, but that I wasn't as open to communicating with vast amounts of people. I was very used to, having one-on-one or at most 3 people, conversing at the same time. I would say the most challenging thing I've done is to put myself out there and be accepting of what I know and what I don't know from different industry experts. So I would say maybe that's the most courageous thing I've done. It's something that I reflect upon and know that, 10 years ago, it wasn't my personality. I'm not so sure if it's my personality right now, but I know that it's something that when I wake up every morning and I'm facing it, it's something that I need to, more or less readjust my mental focus to.
That's great. So if you could be a cartoon character for a week, who would you be?
I would be Bugs Bunny. Hands down, I would be Bugs Bunny. I would be crafty, I would be eating all the time, clearly. But I'll be crafty and be the smart one with the cute bunny ears, for sure.
So what do you wish people would stop asking you?
What do I wish people would stop asking me? Are you still hungry? You'd be surprised how many times I get that question. Are you still hungry? For sure.
Exactly.
Go with the flow, I believe. So.
Brilliant. What would you name your boat if you had one?
Maybe I would call it C'est la vie. I like to say, I've realized that I say such is life a lot. And I think boats with that expression would pretty much define how I live my life or how I accept life to be.
That's nice. Definitely nice. So if you could visit any place in the world, where would you choose to go and why?
I I wasn't exposed to Greek food in Ghana. Coming to the US, I've realized that I love Greek food. My supervisor from my previous company was a native of Greece. And I remember he went there with his wife and he came back with so many pictures, and just to see the landscape and the buildings and the different types of food that he was exposed to, I kind of have on my bucket list to visit Greece just for that reason. It's so different from Ghana in the sense that it seems like it's a town built on a hill, more or less, or a country built on a hill. Ghana is pretty flat, at least with regards to where I'm from. So I definitely would want to visit Greece.
Nice. So what is the worst thing that a person can put on their bio on a dating app?
What is the worst thing? Maybe if they say that they are going to, if they imply that, they're looking for somebody to complete them. I think that could be the worst thing because it could maybe show that they're needy. I don't know. This is me just, figuring something out on the spot. But then maybe if they imply that they needed somebody to complete them as opposed to already come into the table fully complete and fully confident in themselves.
Got you. That's nice. So if Hollywood makes a movie about your life, what do you think will be the title of the movie and which lead actress would you like to play in your role?
Oh my goodness. Let's start with the lead actress. I would want Viola Davis to play me hands down. She is a strong woman and I have loved all her movies to date. So I will definitely go with Viola Davis. And I think it would definitely personify somebody who grew up not being so confident in their abilities, maybe not being so confident in the fact that she loved to speak to crowds, but was always so shy. And then eventually being given the platform to be able to, work full-time in an industry whereby daily communication was more or less 90% of her job. So it would definitely be a come-up story from somebody who was so shy to speak, in public, and then grow into being a woman that was confident in herself and also confident in her communication abilities.
And the title of the movie will be?
Come-up story.
Nice. So what one trait you really like about yourself?
One trait I really like about myself. I definitely appreciate the fact that I am confident about the elements that I have mastery on, but I'm also comfortable with letting go of the reins in areas of my life that I haven't mastered so much. But then in these two scenarios, I'm also aware that I could be wrong in any of these aspects. With the career I work in, I communicate daily with a lot of technical and non-technical professionals. And most of the time, these individuals are, masters in their respective fields. So being able to read the room and provide effective contributions was definitely a skill that I had to work on and master. And I definitely continue to work towards, but then also having the bravery to contribute in settings where more or less, you're not an aviation specialist or you're not an engineer, but being able to contribute strategically to different elements of a proposal, I think is a skill that I really, really admire of myself.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So what's something of sentimental value to you?
Something of sentimental value. Me and my mom have a very close relationship. I see her as more of my best friend than my mother, since I guess I'm not a kid anymore. I'll always be her child, but I don't see myself as a kid anymore, so I see her as my best friend. Growing up, she used to have this necklace, and I don't really wear a lot of jewelry. But then she has this necklace that I've kept since I was maybe in the 3rd or 4th grade, and it's a necklace with a cross on it. And I think for me, even though I've moved to different places, different country at times, I've always had that necklace to me because she's had it for, I think, 10 years prior to me having it. So knowing that it has that history and knowing that it connects me to her in some shape or form, it's something that I hold to the utmost value.
Oh, that's nice. So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
So with regards to my career, I will definitely give, Claudia Garay a shout out. She is my current supervisor, and she's also one of my mentors. She is a powerhouse when it comes to education. And for all her direct reports, she pretty much mentors and coaches, her direct reports, to, further their education or improve upon their career. I remember when I first interviewed for the job and I came to Alexandria for the one-on-one interview, and I walked into her office and I just saw all these certificates on her wall. I was blown away because, there's this lady that has all these degrees, all these certificates, and so well accomplished, but also very easygoing. For me, she was one of the people that attracted me to the company. And one of the reasons why I'm able to work so hard, because I know that she is one of the people that I like to work with, of course, but then also report to. So she's definitely one of the biggest influences in my career. And the other person she's called Maria Cruikshank. She was my mentor when I joined Michael Baker. She is also another powerhouse when it comes to proposal management, and also one of the lead mentors at Michael Baker. She's definitely, she's also another woman who is doing great things in the proposal industry, and I look up to her so, so much. With regards to my life, I would definitely say my parents. Both my mom and my dad are entrepreneurs. And even before then, they held education to a very, very high esteem. My mom became an entrepreneur at the age of 50, and she is, I'm super impressed by her drive and her commitment to educating the youth who don't have, the monetary means to pursue education in that aspect. So, like I mentioned before, education is a big component of my life. And she has shown me that it's definitely never too late or too early to bet on yourself and what you believe in. She has gone on to build 2 different educational institutions whereby she is, training 14 to 18-year-olds vocational skills, so that it's handy for them to develop their own businesses. So I'll definitely say my mom or my parents are 2 of the biggest influences in my life.
That's brilliant. So who's the kindest person you know?
Kindest person I know? Wow. I would have to say it's my best friend, Jeannie. I've known her since I was 11 years old. I would say she's the kindest person just because she not only puts people in front of her, I mean, obviously not callously, but then she speaks to people with the reasoning that I truly admire. There have been so many times that we've gone through, at least since high school through college, we've gone through so many things together, and knowing that she's always had that common voice for me shows that she's the kindest person that I've met to date. Actually, when I was putting together my APMP 40 under 40 application, she was one of the people that I made read it to keep me honest. And she had so much encouraging words to share with me. And I think she was one of the people that was able to encourage me to even apply for it.
Wow, that's amazing. So we are in COVID, as you know, lockdown. So what have you observed lately that reminded you that people are good?
Oh, wow. I think COVID has certainly brought a lot of challenges. I'm not so much of a social media fanatic, but I do have Twitter to follow the news. And I realize there are a lot of teenagers who are, going grocery shopping for their grandmothers, their parents. And that for me warms my heart because my parents currently live in Ghana while I live in the US. So it's definitely beautiful to see that people are, even trying to take care of their parents, even though they don't live with them. So for me, that definitely warms my heart.
That's brilliant. So what's the biggest lesson life has taught you so far?
Biggest lesson life has taught me? Definitely not to stick with the hands that you're given. I definitely believe that once you continue to work towards what your goals are, there's always a way to break barriers and develop yourself into somebody that you never thought was possible. There are times when we're dealt unfortunate cards or, unfortunate lessons happen to us, but I always believe that there's an opportunity to break those barriers and continue to work on yourselves because at the end of the day, it's your life and you're able to mold into whatever you want it to be.
That's very powerful. So what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I wish I knew that I could make a career out of communication skills and my love for social settings. Honestly, I didn't know proposal management was a thing. I didn't know it was an opportunity to organize, different individuals from different technical or non-technical settings. Growing up in Ghana, some of the some of the career choices that you had was, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? Are you going to be a businessman? And even when I decided to pursue environmental policy and French, it was a weird, not weird, but it wasn't a traditional mindset or a traditional course that I wanted to pursue. And even my dad was wondering what I was doing with my life at that point. But then knowing that I was able to capitalize on my communication skills, if I knew that there was an industry where I'd be able to put all these skill sets into use, and also my love for innovation, to help the community, that's one thing that I wish I knew. At least I wish that I had that kind of mentor to guide me to that process.
Wow. So, what's the one best piece of advice you have received, and from whom?
One best piece of advice. For as far back as I can remember, my mom has been able to counsel me on different aspects of my life. I remember when I was in high school, I wasn't so great in maths. Maybe 5th or 6th grade, I wasn't so great in mathematics. And at that point, I was on track to be a doctor, quote unquote, to be a doctor of some sort or go into the medical field. I remember I wasn't great in physics and I wasn't great in maths. And I remember my mom telling me, and I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not so sure what exactly she said, but she said something along the lines of work for what you believe is for you. And obviously my grades reflect that I wasn't so great at maths, but then her statements really lighted the fire in me to know that, I can change my destiny, I can change my path. And even though I had to take, additional classes, I had to do a lot of, I had to visit the career center at my high school so I could get, more tutoring on the course. I definitely worked up to becoming, better in maths, and even going on to selecting, as part of my IB program, selecting maths as a standard level course, because I became so confident in what I could achieve if I just put in extra work. So working for what you believe is for you, I think is definitely a mindset switch that can definitely influence your path.
Wow, super mom there.
I know, she's such a super mom.
What advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
Oh, wow. I think I would tell them, within our industry, there's a lot of things that you need to be honest about when you don't know, and also be confident in approaching, different scenarios if you're, fully competent or if you've mastered it. I think I would give them the advice of knowing when to pull back and also knowing when to encourage. I think that's one aspect that I've realized as I train new hires. It's a fine line that they get confused with. But now definitely say, learn or try to, first of all, get a mentor. Get a mentor in the industry, somebody that you look up to, somebody that can counsel you on areas that are a little bit touchy or more or less difficult to come up with or difficult to speak to on the regular with somebody else. Definitely get a mentor, but also know when to pursue a conversation and know when to cut back or know when to encourage. These, I know they sound a little bit vague, but then more or less it's something that for me, I've had to work towards. And I think even though I'm getting better, there's still room for improvement.
Wow. So looking back, Valerie, where you came from to where you are now, reflecting on this journey, what advice would you give to your counterparts back in Africa on aspiring careers?
I would definitely say shoot for the stars. Definitely shoot for the stars. There's a whole world out there with different opportunities that are not so traditional to maybe our country's mindset. You don't always have to be a doctor to be successful. You don't have to be a lawyer to be successful or to even be respected. Now, I know that there are a lot of people within my year group who have gone back to Ghana, who have developed, social media enterprises or companies, and I'm so proud of them because they're changing the notion, or they're changing the traditional mindset of you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a businessman. So that's something I'm super proud of, and I would definitely advise, my colleagues back home, or even people younger than me, to definitely, with regards to their career, find something you love and shoot for the stars. And you definitely, be given what's, meant to be for you.
That's super powerful. And looking back, I mean, like, successful career so far, multiple degrees, good career at work, at your office. What's next for you?
What's next for me? I think the pandemic has made us slow down in a lot of aspects of our lives. I'm so happy that I've been able to, go for different degrees. I'm glad that I'm working at a company that I love. I think in terms of what's next for me, I'm looking to slow down aspects of my life that are rushing me to overperform. I've taken up cooking, I've taken up, exercising courses, things that, propped up my self-care routine. So I'll definitely say, on career-wise, what's next for me is definitely taking an interest in self-care routines. But then career-wise, I definitely want to one day go into a managerial role where I'm able to coach not only new hires, but have direct reports where I coach and manage and also help them to more or less develop their career.
Thank you, Valerie. So good luck to all your future plans. So is there any part of your life or career, or is there anything else you would like to share, Valerie, in the last 1 or 2 minutes?
So I don't have anything in particular to share, but I will definitely maybe I'll reiterate my advice on shooting for the stars. I am super grateful to work for a company that believes in education and also work for a manager that supports, career advancements. So I would definitely say, to anybody across whatever industry, shoot for the stars, and you definitely, be more than deserving of what's meant for you.
Very powerful, Valerie. So thank you so much for your time today. It's definitely been a privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. So wish you all the good health, happiness, and success with anything and everything you do. Please continue to inspire not just bid and proposal industry colleagues, maybe your cooking colleagues. and your piano, your superheroes, all the stuff, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep inspiring, Valerie.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. This was such a great opportunity. Thank you so, so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Valerie.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.